I was asked a question that I was going to create a video and put it on my EDC channel. But I'm going to do a short version of that video that I'll probably do sometime later this week. But the question was asked, consider telling us about your military experience that led to your growth as a person. I first want to read a scripture to you, taken from the book of Proverbs, the 22nd Proverbs, and reading from the first to the seventh verse. And it reads as follows. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. Pay close attention to the words. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. A good name. I always talk about having a good name to my sons while they were growing up. I always told them it's always good to have a good name. Now, to some, that may not mean much. And to some, they may even say they care less what other people think about them. But a good name would get you a lot further in life than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. The second verse reads, the rich and poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the froward. He that keepeth his soul shall be far from them. This is the verse I want you to pay close attention to. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. And then the seventh and last verse reads, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Now, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, I read that scripture because before I entered the military, my choice and decision, and I'm only speaking for myself, my character, my growth as a person had everything to do with my foundation before I chose to go in the military. My first initial thought was to go to school, to go to college. But then later, after speaking to a friend of my sister's that was in the military and he was home on leave, and I was asking questions, so I decided to speak to a recruiter. And I enlisted in the military. Now, everybody's path in life is different. Everybody make choices for themselves, and although they make the same choice that you made, they may have a different outcome. I look at the military as a portion of building blocks that formed and shaped me or shaped my growth as a person. It's just another building block added to what was already made. That foundation that my parents set was the foundation that I was able to build upon by entering the military. Now, I understand that there's a lot of so-called black Americans that don't feel that blacks should not enlist in the military. They say the military is not a place for the black man. But everybody is not the same. Everybody have their own path to follow in life. I chose the military. The military was a building block added to make the person that I turned out to be now, because a lot of my choices and decisions, even when it comes to raising my sons, they're both adults now. But even when it came to raising my son, a lot of the discipline and how I handled things came from my training in the military, because it contributed to me being the man that I am today. But not everybody would have that same experience, because not everyone had that same foundation that I had coming up. And even if you had a rocky foundation, you can still patch up that foundation by making the right choices in your life, by hanging around the right people, by not allowing negative thoughts or influences to take precedence over choices that you make in life. Because there's a lot of people that make choices not because they want it, but to try to please and satisfy someone else, or to try to fit in with the crowd. I've never been that kind of person to try to fit in with the crowd, because if I noticed the crowd did not accept me or had issues with me, I distanced myself from that crowd. And I didn't mind being a loner. But upon being a loner, I made choices and decisions to keep myself busy. Artwork was my thing, drawing and painting, martial arts, wrestling, later boxing. That's what took up most of my time outside of school growing up. I spent much of my time in the library, in the art gallery, doing things that I enjoyed doing. See, all of these were just building blocks, pieces to the puzzle of my life. So my military experience did not lead to my growth as a person. My person was already established from the foundation of my upbringing. The military was just one of the pieces to the puzzle to help me along the way. Now, when I entered the military, it was quite a bit of experience, man. It was different. My first time being away from home. I'm in a position now where I can travel the world. I can see things more than just New York. It took me out of the hood. And I would never forget that feeling I had when I'm leaving my home, my mother's house. And I'm now on that path of becoming my own man. See, the military makes you or it breaks you. But it's not the military that make or break you. It's choices that you make. It's how you receive the military and the training, the drill sergeants, because not everyone could take someone yelling in their face. Not everyone could take their body and their mind being abused. And that abuse wasn't to destroy you. The abuse was to make you stronger. And they start out by steps. But even the smallest step, that entry level into the military seems like a lot. Or it's hard for a lot of young men and young women because this is just something they're not used to. They're not used to that type of discipline. So the military teaches you discipline. And not only you're learning discipline, but yet you're also contributing to the safety of the home, of your home, your family, and your nation as a whole. So you're protecting this nation, keeping your family safe, and ready to defend yourself and give your life for your family and for your country. And you have a lot of males that's not strong enough emotionally, psychologically, and even spiritually to be able to handle that. So my going into the military, on my way there, it was just the weirdest feeling. It felt good. You feel, it's like a free, you feel free. And I remember when, after we did our in processing and everything seemed like a breeze, it was relaxed. You know, we got all our equipment, our duffel bags and whatnot. And we had to load up on this cattle car, what they call cattle cars. And we were going to our duty station. And I would never forget, the minute we arrived on base, all I heard was yelling. And all of these dudes with drill sergeant hats on and uniforms look like prison guards or law enforcement, and they yelling, telling you to, and all you can hear is they telling you to get off that cattle car. And as you step off, you heard them drop, 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 drop. These dudes are just scattered doing push-ups. So they started discipline right there upon entering or getting off that cattle car. That's when your training began. And they're dropping you, have you line up on this line, and you know, and you got drill sergeants yelling in your face, and then they tell you got like 60 seconds to run upstairs and find a barracks, find a bunk and a wall locker, and you got 60 seconds to do it, and 59 seconds are gone already, and you run upstairs with all this equipment and everything you own, and you run upstairs, you're coming back downstairs, all you hear is drop, 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 drop. Now you're in a push-up position again, right? So it was quite interesting, man, but it's a challenge, and that is a real test of true manhood for the men. From what I understand, the military is a whole lot different now. It's a lot watered down, and you know, it's different. It's not the military that I enlisted in. You know, because guys now can cry and don't want to do PT. They're hurting and they can go to sick call, or drill sergeants can't yell at them and can't do what they did to us. Right? But I don't regret anything that I had to experience in the military. I remember, because on the block you're bad, you're tough. And I remember we had an NBC class, right? Nuclear Biological Chemical. And we had an NBC class, and it was like hot outside. It was like 100 and something degrees out. And the heat index was really high, and we really couldn't do nothing because, you know, there was like this type of thing like where you can't go outside, right? And we had on our fatigues, full gear chemical, and if anyone's been inside those chemical outfits, you know you can wear them things in the wintertime and you still sweat inside them. That's how hot they are. So we had our fatigues on, we had our chemical suits on, we had the chemical boots on top of our regular boots and the chemical gloves, and we had the gas mask, and then we had our steel pots on our head. So we sitting in this classroom, man, and it was hot. Boy, it was so hot. And this is in South Carolina. It was so hot in there, man, and they had these big fans going, and the fans weren't doing nothing. And we watching these boring NBC classes, man, and you couldn't get caught falling asleep, man. All you saw was them people, them gas masks going down, because you can't see the face, you just see the gas mask. You just see them heads dropping, it's just bobbing from sleep. I remember, man, this drill sergeant walked up to me. It wasn't my sergeant, but sergeant walked up to me and told me stand up. So I'm thinking, cool, so I stood up, right? Had an attitude coming off the block, right? Stood up, no problem, stand up. So after the class was over, he walked to my drill sergeant. I'm thinking I'm getting ready to go now. He walked up to me and told my drill sergeant he was writing on that desk. Because I was writing on the desk. I was drawing to keep from falling asleep. That's how boring it was. And I was hot on top of that. And the drill sergeant told me, get that desk, you bought it. So I'm like, what? Get that desk, you bought that desk. So I'm walking around with this desk, and it was one of them desks we had back in elementary school with the, you kind of like flip it up and fold it down. It was a wooden desk. One of them desks was real heavy. So everywhere I went, I had to carry that desk with me, man. I had to carry that desk. And so we had to go to chow line, right? So we standing in chow, and it was like a very narrow path to go inside the cafeteria. It's a cafeteria, but we call it chow line. But we stand in the chow line, and I left that desk in the barracks, man. He walked up to me, where your desk at? I said, it's in the barracks. He said, go get it. I looked at him like he was crazy. I said, you want me to carry that desk out here, man? He said, go get that desk. You bought it. So I went back to the barracks. I ain't carrying that desk, man. Attitude, I ain't carrying that desk. He, pack your bags. You're leaving. Now, that's when at that moment, that was my test. Because before I went into the military, I had friends tell me, oh, you ain't going to make it, and that ego stood up. And I wasn't going to prove my friends wrong that I'm not going to make it in the military. So he told me, go get that, he told me, he said, well, pack your bags, you going home. And I'm sitting there huffing and puffing, mad and whatnot. I'm not carrying that desk. I'm all up in the drill sergeant's face, like, what you want to do, right? And sit there, and I broke down, man. He broke me, man. And he told me, he's all right. And I told him, I don't want to go home, right? He's all right, but get that desk and you carry it. So I had to carry that desk for a little bit, man. He had me do push-ups, squat thrust, and he's all in my face, knock him out till I get tired. And he don't get tired because he's not doing them. So I'm down there doing push-ups, and he's like, knock him out till I get tired. Roll over, roll over, roll over, roll over, roll over, knock him out, roll over. It was crazy. And so after that was done, I end up putting the desk away, right? But after that, man, it's like after you go through like basic training, that was just basic training, man. After you go through that mental, there's something I want to say, but I don't want to say it. But after you go through that mental torture, right? Because it's all mental. I mean, they're dealing with your body, your mind, your emotions, man. And if there's a small bit of woman in you, it's gonna come out. If you're a man, then you're gonna put your chest out, man, and you're gonna push through that, man. You're gonna be like, listen, I'm not gonna allow this to get the best of me. I'm an overcomer. I can do all things through Christ that strengthen me. And keep in mind, I wasn't in the church at the time. So this was a challenge to myself. It had nothing to do with the military. It had everything to do how I handled my enlistment or my journey with the military. And it just made me a better person. Like anything in life, you could take those building blocks that's offered to you, that's presented to you, and you could allow anger and bitterness and hostility to get the best of you, to keep you from being the best that you can be, to keep you from taking any opportunity that's presented to you. It's just like I hear black dudes talk about they don't want the white man's knowledge. They don't feel they should go to school. It's the white man's knowledge. Everything belongs to the white man. And then they find themselves at the lowest of the lowest. And then those that did decide to apply themselves and take advantage of opportunities that came, now you got your hands out and begging them for money. Got a couple of dollars I can get so I can get me something to eat. That's all about choices. It had nothing to do with the military. So you have guys that have a good experience with the military, and then you have those that have not so good experience with the military because of how they receive the information. It could be a drill sergeant in their face talking about their mama, making them do too many push-ups, always sending them to KP because of things they did. So, but for me, the military was good, man. You know, I don't regret anything, good or bad. I don't regret any choices that I made in life. I really don't, because good or bad, and it's not too many bad things, but it made me to be the person who I am today. The military was just a part of the puzzle. But my foundation came from home. Like the scripture said, train a child up in the way they should go. Unfortunately, you have young people that grow up that don't have that kind of foundation. So if they choose to enter the military, they're going to have an entirely different experience that I had because they lack that foundation. So you could either allow the military to become your foundation, or the military's strictness and training will destroy you as an individual and destroy your life. Because then you'll end up getting a dishonorable discharge, which might affect your career. You don't want that. You don't want to be a failure. And I refuse to be a failure. I refuse to allow the military to defeat me. I refuse to allow the military to get in my head to the point where I quit, or the military destroys my life, or choices I made in the military destroy my life. So it really depends upon the choices you make. You can enter the military, and I think the military is a great place for young people to go if that's the choice that you choose. In my opinion, there's nothing wrong with the military. It becomes another piece of the puzzle. So as far as my military experience that led to me, or led to the growth, my growth as a person, it wasn't so much as the military itself. It was the foundation I had before I entered the military. The military just became a part of my life experience that I have no regrets at all. At all. And I can say I'm a proud patriot, man, of this country. And I'm going to tell you something before I end this video, you never really miss the water until the well runs dry. You never miss the water until the well runs dry. Unless you've been out of the country And you see how in other nations, now other nations may look good to you from a distance until you get there, until you live among them. I've seen guys literally kiss the ground when they came back to this country. And these are some of the same people that curse this country, that always blame this country for slavery and you did this to the black man. And I've seen some of them same dudes get on their knees and kiss the ground when they came back to this country, because they realized how important and how valuable this nation was. So my growth as a person, it was a great experience, and I don't regret it at all. And like I said, even when it came to raising my sons, even my granddaughters, a lot of that come from the military. The strictness, the sternness, bringing a balance to parenting, because you got to know when to be soft and you know when you got to be hard. You know when to be nice to them. And then you know when to discipline them and how to discipline them without actually breaking them. And you have so many young people that's being broken by their parents because the parents never had that foundation. So I didn't mean to go this long. And I'll speak on this again in another video on another channel. So feedback, tell me what you think until next time. Peace.